What's up, guys? West Coast Picks here, and today it's not going to be a picking video. It is going to be lock sport related, kind of. But I've had a lot of questions about 3D printing and CNC routing and stuff like that. So I'm going to answer a bunch of questions. And moreover, I'm going to go into more detail how I do things like create custom shapes for pinning trays. If you follow me on Twitter, that's @_West Coast Picks. You'll see that when I make something new, I post it on Twitter right away, and often it's weeks later that you see it on the channel. But anyway, if you haven't seen, I have these small skull pinning tray. I also have a large one, which is about twice the size and holds almost twice as many pins. And then the car, there's a Schlag key pinning tray, and then there's these mortise holders that I've made. They're all the exact same size. Primus here. Finicky keyway, jeez. Anyway, you can see it's just a display for your mortise cylinders, and key goes in the bottom because some people don't like leaving keys in their lock when they're on display. So they're angled back a little bit, so they're not front heavy or anything. Actually, it would be quite a bit to tip them over. You can see how angled back it is there. So, and they work pretty good. They look pretty good too. And then I also have the cam version. So this is regular cam lock. This one happens to be a disc detainer. And then also I still have to refine it because I didn't realize that the outside of the SFIC core is a little bit bigger than the actual core itself, so I didn't allow for that, and it doesn't go all the way in. So I'll have to fix that. I just have to make another step on the inside here, and I'll do that. And then that one will be done, and that is SFIC display. So if you have a cool SFIC with a nasty keyway or something like that, or like this one's a Keymark Medico, put it on display. Also, in the display department, this is a safe dial that was sent to me by Den Brass. Den Brass sent me this in pieces in a bag, and I've reassembled it, and I made a display for it. So this is 3D printed, obviously, and designed, and the combo pack just sits on the back. It's got conveniently spaced, at least for I got two of these dials around here, and I actually measured the other one. It has a little bit longer of a shaft. This one, I might shorten these on another pinning tray just to get the distance right, but it still works. But anyway, so we can dial our safe open and closed and stuff like that. I have it dialed in right now. So anyway, so nice safe mount display. And again, it's angled back enough. I don't know if you can see that angle. That it's not front heavy or anything. It's not going to fall over. And looks good. And it's also, if you're going to be practicing manipulation, which I plan to, a good mount for your dial. Anyway, at the end of the video, I'll talk a little bit about, it's actually pretty easy to do, but how to take an image and profile it on wood with the CNC router. It's a question I get kind of often. About 4 or 5 people have asked me that already, so I will show you how I do that, and it's pretty easy. Keep in mind it does take a long time, and there's a lot of cleanup. As you can see, I haven't cleaned this one up, and it's got a bunch of just wood flakes and chips and dust stuck in between all the fine parts. You can even see, like, it gets down really fine. You can see the teeth in the skull. That's tiny, right? There's my fingerprint. So the detail is good. It's just you got to clean it out after. And also, this took about 3 hours, so it takes a long time. Anyway, let me get the camera set up, and we're going to build a pinning tray start to finish. We're going to do a custom pinning tray, and that'll teach you how I do all the shapes. There's a couple different programs involved, and how I do things like get people's logos and put them on pinning trays, because I've had that question a few times as well. So let me get set up and we'll get at it. Alright guys, here we are set up in front of the television. And the reason I'm in front of the TV is because every other video capture program I've tried does not show menus when you select things. And it's kind of important. So anyway, if you haven't watched the original video where I show you how to make a pinning tray in 123D design, go do that, because a lot of this won't make sense unless you've already watched that and have played around with it a bit. To get images into 123D design, which is essentially what you want to do to get custom shaped pinning trays and logos and stuff, you need a program called Inkscape, I-N-K-S-C-A-P-E. I will put a link to it in the description below. It's free, just go download it. And we want to open up a relatively simple graphic. If you notice, some people, I don't put their logo on pinning trays because their logo is not simple enough. It has to be pretty close to black and white image. Anyway, we will open up an image that we're going to use. Could be anything that is black and white or simple. Like here's a maple leaf. Well, let's do maple leaf. Why not? So it's a maple leaf outline, and you can leave all these options to the default, and it'll work out just fine. Open it up, and so we have our image. The first thing we want to do is select this image. Just click on it anywhere. You'll see a box appear around it, and then we'll go up to Path and Trace Bitmap. And you'll have to select Live Preview, and it'll show you what it's going to look like after. You can play with these options at the side to dial in the image if it doesn't look quite right, but you'll find that usually the default is good. Anyway, it looks good. Just select OK and close this out. And you can see it's still a maple leaf. It hasn't changed at all, but it has actually vectorized the image, which means it has turned the image into a shape. It has actually traced the path of the edges of the image and mapped it out as a shape. So now if you were to zoom in on this, you could zoom in as far as you want, and it will never actually pixelate because it is a vector graphic. So that's the benefit of vector graphics. They're used for printing and stuff like that. I learned how to do it when I worked in a print shop. I was the key operator for all the machines there. Anyway, now we want to File, Save As, and SVG is the standard file format. And this one's going to be Maple Leaf Outline Clip Art 3 SVG. Save it. Now we are done in Inkscape. You don't need it anymore. That's as simple as it is. The rest is done in 123D design. And if you watch the first video, or if you have a little bit of knowledge with 123D design, the rest of this is going to be pretty easy for you. We have our blank canvas. We are going to import SVG as solid. And we're going to select our image. You can see I've done a bunch here already. This is Maple Leaf Outline Clip Art SVG. Open. It asks you which program it's coming from. This is coming from Inkscape. You can actually use Adobe Illustrator if you already have it or whatever, but that's pretty expensive. But we're using Inkscape. And click OK. And you can see it has imported our image. And I like how it leaves the inside filled in as well, because it's very convenient for like pinning trays and stuff. But anyway, now what we want to do is go over to the right hand side here. You can see this eye. You want to go over to Hide Solids / Meshes, and that'll leave us with just this template. And you want to drag your cursor over it, select it all, and hit the delete button. Gone. Now we can go ahead and bring back our solid meshes. Click back on that eye and go to Show Solids Meshes. So we have our solid now. That is our object, which is the maple leaf that we imported. we turned into a vectorized image. So now we have essentially two pieces here. It's a very simple image, so there's only two pieces to it. Some images, there are multiple pieces, and it gets pretty hard to deal with. But what we can do is select it all, just drag over it, select it all, and we're going to zoom out with the mouse wheel button and drag it over to our print bed here. Over there somewhere around the middle. And we are going to reorient ourselves. Alright. So, we have it all selected. We want to rotate it to minus 90 degrees. And we want to resize this thing. So down here at the bottom is Smart Scale, and you can see the size of the image. And you can either type in the size you want it to be exactly, or you can scale it. So I actually like to know the exact size. So we're going to knock this down to, what is it going to be, 105 by 102, 135. So 105 by 135. And I just kind of made up those numbers. They're arbitrary. They're around the original scale, the original X and Y. So it didn't skew it too much. It doesn't look squished or anything. And now we want to actually resize the height. So this is going to be a pinning tray, so we're going to, by the way, this could be a logo as well. You do it the exact same way. So now you know how to just place your logo on the pinning tray, and you've got your logo on the pinning tray. And we just resize this thing. The inner portion is going to be 2 millimeters. There it is. 2 millimeters. And the outer portion is going to be 5 millimeters. And you can select each one and hit D, and that brings them right down to the print bed. And you can see we have a maple leaf, basic maple leaf outline pinning tray. You could put pinning grooves in there and stuff like that if you wanted, or you could just leave it like that, and it could just be a tray for parts or something. But anyway, the point of this was to show how to basically import an image into Autodesk 123D Design and turn it into a shape so you can then put it on your objects or turn them into objects. So that's how you do that. I've had a bunch of questions, and if any of it wasn't clear, ask questions, specific questions down below, and I'll do my best to make sure everybody understands. I think I did a pretty good job of showing how everything was done. From here, because it's still two pieces, if you're dealing with bigger logos with multiple pieces, you can combine it. So you can go up to the top here and go merge. So you go to combine and then merge, and you click each piece. So if there's 20 of them, you click all 20. But if there's only two, click the two and then hit enter. And now it turns it into one piece. So you can no longer mess up the alignment or anything like that. You also can't take them apart again. So once you have it combined, it is effectively one solid piece now, and you'll never be able to separate them again unless you undo all the way back. Anyway, that's pretty much how it's done, and that is it for this portion. I'm going to move on to the CNC routing, how to CNC route an image onto a piece of wood or something like that. And we'll touch on that really quickly for the couple people that asked, and then should be done. All right, guys. Now we're going to quickly go over how you would CNC route an image with nice fine detail onto a piece of wood or whatever. So you're going to need a picture editing software of some sort, and learn how to use one, or find images that are already to the spec that you need. But I'm going to load up Photoshop here, and we're just going to open up an image that I've created just for specifically for routing onto wood. There we go. So this is the piece that I showed you, that I actually showed you at the beginning of the video. This is the file that I actually started with. So what you would do is you would either find images that you want, or create your own, and then you would make sure that your image size, so go to image size, I use millimeters for everything, so do whatever you want accordingly, but make sure that your height and width are the size of your end product. So this is going to be a pick handle, and I leave a millimeter on either side for air, for when you're sanding and finishing when you're done. But it's normally 80 by 12, but it's 81 by 13 millimeters. So you just got to remember that number. It's the exact one-to-one scale of what you're actually going to be making. So now you have your image, however you've done it, and you've resized it, and then you need to save this as a BMP. Just a straight up BMP, and you can be done with your image editing. You no longer need to edit any image. You have it in the format and the size that you need. You want it black and white, very simple, because it doesn't really work any other way. You can build layers, but that becomes very complicated, and I'm not going to go into that right now. So anyway, now that you've done that, you go into your software that came with the unit, and it came with ArtCam is the software. You can't find ArtCam in the distribution that came with your unit. You can probably download it for free. I think it's a free program. If it is, I'll look for a link, and I'll put a description. A link for the description below where you can download it. If there's no link down there, that means it's probably not free, or I couldn't find it. But this actually came with the unit that I bought. Anyway, so now that we're in ArtCam, you can go back to my first video where I showed me actually making stuff for the CNC. We did a pinning tray. But you'll see how this works a little bit more. I'm not going to go into huge detail on how this works, but we're going to create a new model, and this is going to be the size of our finished product. Remember, it was 81 by, I'll do it the other way. It was 13 by 81. And it's in millimeters. Okay. And now what you want to do is File, open your BMP. In our case, it's this guy here. It's the BMP that we saved, and it's going to ask you what size it is again. So you just do it 13 by 81 millimeters. Okay. And there we go. We have our BMP is loaded and ready to go. What we need to do now is over at the right hand side here, you see reliefs, and you want to or sorry, up at Bitmaps, you want to create relief from image. And you click on that, it's going to ask you how high the height relief, and for our use, we're actually going to be reverse routing this. So this is actually going to be how deep we're going, not how high we're going. But we'll set it at 1 millimeter, which usually gives pretty good definition. You can go deeper if you want more finer definition, higher detail. You can go a little bit deeper, but it does take longer. Anyway, 1 millimeter is good. Okay. And then you can go over to the 3D representation up at the top here, top left-hand corner. It says 3D view. Click on that, and you can see that it has transferred the image onto the end product, and looks like it's going to route into the wood. But what we want is to route everything except for our image. So what we do is go over to reliefs here. You can do it either way you want, but for the purpose of this demo, we're going to do it in negative. So you go over to reliefs here, and see the relief layer. It has a little plus on it. You just click it, and it goes over, so not the relief layer. Change that back to plus. The bitmap layer, and you click it once, and it goes to minus. And that, as we can see, moves everything down. And now it's going to be a raised image. Instead of routed into the wood, it routes the rest of the wood away. And that's what we want. That's what I showed you on both the piece of wood and the cellulose. So basically, that's exactly what I did the first time. We have our image all set up. All we have to do is create our toolpaths now. So we just go over to Toolpaths down at the bottom tab here, and then up to Machine Relief. Under 3D Toolpaths, there's an option, Machine Relief. Just click on that, and you can keep these options stock pretty much at the top. You can change how it actually machines the image. You can make it go circular or spiral or whatever. I keep it as raster. Seems to be pretty quick, or the quickest anyway. And then you select your tool, and the tool I'm going to be using is the machine actually came with half a dozen of these tools, and it is a very, very fine engraving tool, which is perfect for this. This is what I used on both those things I showed you. And it gets down to a very, very fine tip. It's on the very tip of it, it's 0.1 of a millimeter. So as you saw, it gets really, really good detail. Anyway, so we select that tool. It actually came with the unit, and actually the tool was already set up in the program and everything. So if not, you can just set it up yourself. Go back to the original video where I made the pinning tray, and I show you how to set up tools. Anyway, now we're done pretty much. We have our tool defined. We have to set our material thickness. You just got to set it anything over what you're milling. We're only going a millimeter deep, so anything over a millimeter is fine. We'll just go 5 for the hell of it. And there you go. We have a representation of what's going to happen. We go over to calculate now. And you can see it just mapped all the cuts. If we zoom in, we can see the work that it's going to do in red. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, now all we have to do is go to Toolpaths and save toolpath as. Move the Machine Relief toolpath over to Toolpaths to save area. It is Anderson NCC because that's what our routing program uses, and just click Save. Name it, pick handle or whatever. Pick handle 3 because I already have 1 and 2 apparently. Anyway, and now it's saved, and all we have to do now is go over to our routing software.
So ours is GRBL control. Fire it up. Load up our NCC that we just saved, which should be probably downloads. Yeah, pick handle 3 NCC. Open it up. And this is the routing it's going to do. You can see the detail is actually very fine. The black lines are actually passes that it's going to take, that your machine is going to make while routing. So you can tell it's going to take a while. This will take, with the current settings, 1 hour and 18 minutes is what it will take to reproduce that on, on the current settings. Anyway, that's what we got. If any of that wasn't clear, if you think I missed anything, or you want me to go into greater detail on something, just let me know. I'm trying to keep it all brief because it's already a long video. But anyway, guys, that's how I do it. If anybody else has any questions, just feel free to ask in comments, or you can email me if you don't feel like asking in public. I'll leave my email in the description below as well. And I'll do videos like this every now and then where I just answer a bunch of questions that I get all the time. So anyway, guys, later.